All right, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to my power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone who rule well. And salutations to you brothers all across the four corners of the earth who bring out this word in faith and in sincerity. Call halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, Barakatham, to the sincere and hopeful elect. And this article is out of the Hill. Analysts say New Age beliefs more popular as fewer Americans follow traditional religions. So the spirit is being revealed that a lot of these Generation Zers, millennials, all the way to the baby boomers, they're now starting these new religions. They're getting into old shit, and really that's just a precursor for the destruction of Babylon. Okay, so right here, we're gonna go ahead and see if this video will play.
It's pretty easy to find a big swath of the public who believes in a lot of things. Conspiracies, spiritual beliefs, all of the like.
Sure. I mean, one interesting thing about this to think about is that maybe it's correlated with the rise of what you were talking about, the nuns, the people who don't have a formal religious affiliation. They consider themselves secular or just spiritual or something like that. The data suggests this is the fastest growing religious group in America, are people who don't hold any firm religious beliefs. So perhaps these New Age beliefs are, in a sense, at least partially a reflection of more and more people not having an orthodox religious set of beliefs.
That's 33% of young people now with no religious affiliation.
Wow.
They still believe in God, but they have no religious affiliation. So I think that's moving the needle on some of these questions.
Why do you think there was such a drop among younger people in terms of religion? Is it just because they're distracted by other things? It's because what?
Well, it's possible that they will come back to church at some point. I'm a little less like as they get a little bit older.
Hell no.
Secular culture in many ways.
Hell no.
Fighting it for them.
Oh, this lady done lost her goddamn mind. You know?
The media also got
She's trying to say that eventually the so-called white man and these heathens are going to go back to church, which ultimately, that's for nothing. Even if you go back to church, that don't mean shit. You know what I mean? But it's the nerve, man. It's the nerve of a lot of these people. They feel like, oh, I can believe in God, but I don't have to hold any sort of responsibility. So really, all I did was on the search key, all I really did was type in new wine, because that wine is that philosophy. These people are starting to get these new philosophies. Oh, see, now the fucking thing wants to fuck up. I'll just read it from here. The growing popularity of New Age beliefs likely stems in part from fewer Americans following traditional religions, according to political analysts. Data suggests this is the fastest growing religious group in America, are people who don't hold any firm religious beliefs, right? So, you know what? Great. Falling away. Let's see if I can get that. Let's see if I can. Okay. This is the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And who is that? That's finding out that Esau, the so-called white man, right, is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And see, this is ultimately why these young white Americans have stopped going to church. Well, first of all, they realize that so-called white man is the devil. So why are you going to go to church, right, which is already a wicked thing to do, and praise a white Jesus and all this other stuff? Really, man, a lot of these guys that watch these videos are young white males. A lot of these guys that watch these GMS videos, they are young white males, and they're starting to realize there's nothing that we can do. The jig is up, the cat's out of the bag. The so-called white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of, you know? So I'm just going to read that again. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means. So he's telling the hopeful elect, you know, don't let nobody fucking fool you. They're going to tell you a lot of shit. Okay? And it says, for that day shall not come. So the day basically of Jacob's true trouble is not going to come except there being a falling away first. So that's double. That means two things. Now, obviously, Israel is going to fall away from its glory by going to these churches and joining Hinduism, Buddhism, drinking all these different wines, these different philosophies. Right? So they're falling away. They're falling away from their heritage. They're falling away from everything. Right? And that also means a great falling away in the sense of the so-called white man. There's sedition amongst men. A lot of these so-called white people are rising up against so-called white people. And that's why the scriptures say that, you know, Satan will basically rise up against Satan. You know? There's sedition amongst men. And that man of sin be revealed. So now we're finally coming into the time that we understand that the so-called white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And that's why there is this great falling away. You know? The son of perdition. And who's the son of perdition? Esau, Edom, which is the so-called white man. So this is starting to become a big thing, man. Everybody all across the world knows who the Israelites are. All right? And we ain't sitting here saying, oh, I wonder who the Israelites are. They know who the Israelites are, man. It's you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. That's all it is. Perhaps these New Age beliefs are, in a sense, at least partially, a reflection of more and more people not having an orthodox religious set of beliefs. Okay? Oh, let me read that. Let me read that crazy shit. Let me read that. It says 78% of those who held at least one New Age belief said they did not affiliate with any particular religion. Survey also found that those who identify as Christian were more likely than atheists and agnostics to hold at least one New Age belief. Okay? I'm trying to find... I guess it's... And this is fucking up. You know, these websites... You know, like The Hill and these other websites, they don't really work that well, and that's on purpose.
Like that, and you can say, well, that's just one
you know,
instance, and it was fictional and no big deal.
Because I swear it's like a fucking fourth grader designed the layout and the format for their website. You know, this shit shouldn't be running like this. But anyways, this is the part that I wanted to read. Teixeira was discussing a recent Pew Research Center poll that found 62% of Americans hold New Age beliefs, such as astrology and the presence of spiritual energy in trees or mountains. And that's basically, and to be honest, that's true. That's true. Spiritual energy is in the trees. You know what I mean? It is in the trees and all that. It's in the trees. It's in the mountains. It's in all that. But ultimately, the energy that's in those trees and in those mountains, okay, you already know what that is. The trees and the mountains are screaming. If they could at the top of their lungs, the trees would literally be screaming about their hatred for the so-called white man and the heathens, because so-called white man is constantly putting chemicals in the air, and he's destroying the trees. He's carving giant holes into mountains in order to take out, you know, uranium and fucking silver and precious metals and all sorts of stuff. You know, they use the astrology in order to determine certain days, certain events, you know, and ultimately that's getting you caught up. You know, it's not good for Israel to be out, you know, stargazing and matching up horoscopes and shit. You're not supposed to be doing that. So these people are correct in a sense. Yes, there is spiritual energy in the trees and mountains, but that spiritual energy hates you. It hates you. Anything outside of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is basically getting rooted and cut out. And the trees know that. That's why it talks about in the scriptures when when righteousness is bestowed on the earth, the whole earth is gonna rejoice. The trees are gonna rejoice. The grass is gonna rejoice. Really, there's nothing really left on this article. So now, man, we're just gonna I guess we'll go to this is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All right? And basically, it's because of the internet. If it wasn't for the internet, we really wouldn't know that Esau was a so-called white man, and so on and so forth. Verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. That they eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him. And there's no understanding in the so-called white man. And that's why he's dropping his religion, dropping off his tradition, quote-unquote traditional beliefs, because there's no understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? So these are the wise men are what you would call the elites. These are the people with all the left-handed wisdom in order to find quote-unquote success on this earth. Verse 9, and thy mighty men, O Taman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. So eventually, when it comes down to it, there's not going to be any Edomites. Verse 10, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, which is you Native Americans, Negroes, Latinos, and you confusion of face brothers who could look like heathens, right? Shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Right? So over a certain amount of time, you're never going to see a so-called white man. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. So when the Israelites were getting taken out of power and they were getting carried away to Babylon, or they were getting carried away to Assyria, or they were getting carried away to Rome, whichever captivity, the so-called white man was there, egging them on. The so-called white man was helping these other nations put us into slavery. Oh, I know where the prophets go on this day. I know where so-and-so's wife is. Oh, I know that this prophet's cousin is named this. Only Esau knew that. And so he literally helped the other nations come and enslave us. And for that, we now have what we see today. You know what I'm saying? We see all these so-called white people down in the dumps. They're on opioids. You know what I mean? They're doing all sorts of shit, man. Because ultimately their understanding has run out. Verse 12. But thou shouldst not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. So when we were getting taken away, they were talking a bunch of shit. Oh yeah, we finna get this land now. It's Esau's time to shine. That's what they were saying. As Judah was getting carried away, they were probably rejoicing, jumping up and down, all sorts of shit. Verse 13. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of calamity. So not only did they fucking celebrate when we got taken away, they went into our towns, cities, and they took our shit. All our possessions. They were taking garments, gold, and to this very day in Jerusalem, right? A lot of that gold actually belongs to Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Because they laid their hands on our substance in our day of calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. So during that time when Israel was escaping from Jerusalem, Esau was helping the heathens to find us and capture us. Just like during the time of slavery, right? The so-called white man would go out and he would sit in certain areas that he knew slaves would run away at. There are certain places that you have to cross, maybe a certain bridge in order to get to the north, and they would wait there for a slave to pop up, and they'd come and they'd kill him, for trying to escape. And that's a reiteration of what happened when we were in captivity in Babylon, Assyria, Rome, so on and so forth. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. So then even the people that stayed in Jerusalem, you went and you scooped them up too. You scooping everybody up. 15. Verse 15. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen, right? So all the heathens, the Ishmaelites, Elamites, Girgashites, Hittites, Canaanites, Amalekites, Ammonites, Moabites, all you fucking heathens, man. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. So all the shit that y'all are doing is gonna come back onto you, aka slavery, aka your women being taken captive, your resources being taken, everything, literally your entire essence, and quite literally even your heritage will be absorbed. In the kingdom, there ain't gonna be no Chinese man eating no eating no squid and shit. That's not gonna happen. Everybody's gonna be following under the vibration of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. That's it, and that's all. And that's what the book of Obadiah is trying to tell you. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. So this is a future prophecy, because it's saying already that they've received a reward. I mean, look at everybody. They've come to America and they've built this entire country off the backs of slaves, right? Of Hispanics, right? Latinos, right? Whatever you call them. Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, whatever the fuck you want to call them. They've built the entire country. And honestly, a lot of those Chinese that were building the railroads, those were actually Israelites. Their family came from a certain family, which came from a certain family, which came from another family that was an Israelite. And somehow they knew that, and through the spirit, those were some of the people that were working along the slaves to build the railroads. Now, how many times do we see trains and shit pass by? We never received no sort of get back, and they're making money off those same train tracks. Those same train track routes are being used to this day, man. Just a few more, and we'll end the video. Verse 16. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, okay? And who is that holy mountain? Israel. So shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. So basically, y'all are not going to be in remembrance soon enough. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. So we'll be completely separate from you heathens, man. Really, it's going to be the heathens that are going to be dealing with y'all and lording over y'all. We're going to have a lot of Hamites, a lot of Moabites whipping you Edomites asses in the kingdom. We're not even gonna have to lift up a hand. We're gonna tell them, the Moabites, hey, go over there and make them do this, and they're not gonna come up against us because of our power, because in that time we're gonna be in our full power, back to our originally restored glory. And it says, "And the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions." So all that gold, all that nice shit that y'all got is coming our way, just like how y'all did us. "And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it." So this is what the Lord said, that after 1,000 years, all right, they're going to be rounded up and burned. All of them, all of Esau. So you'll never look upon Esau, the so-called white man, ever again after a certain amount of time. And that's going to happen here on this earth when righteousness is bestowed upon the earth. This is verse 19. "And they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau." And who are the people of the south? That's Judah. All right? So, really, Judah, which is the head tribe, is going to be the main people whipping Esau ass. Now, of course, all 12 tribes are going to be, getting their licks in. But for the most part, it's going to be Judah whipping Esau ass. Because all the other tribes suffer, right? But Esau has a special hatred for the so-called black man. He just does. And that's why we're going to be the main ones whipping his ass. "And they of the plain of the Philistines," which is you Hamites. "And they of the plain of the Philistines, and they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead." Oh, so Salakia. I'm thinking of the of the Palestinians. So Salakia for that. This is verse 20. "And the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites," which is you Hamites, "even unto Zarephath. And the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad, shall possess the cities of the south. And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's." And who are those saviors that shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau? That's those 144,000 men, right? That's the elect. And ultimately the elect is going to say, okay, you do this to this person, that to that person. They're going to be the judges that are going to judge Esau before he's eradicated. You know what I mean? So I just want to give all praise, honor, and glory to my power, who the world ignorantly calls God, and who the world ignorantly calls, Jesus, which both of those aren't true. God is just another word for power, and Jesus is some name made up. You know what I mean? Really, it's based off the name Serapis Christos, which is a pagan god. You know what I mean? And he looks like the so-called white man too. And it's also based off of a man named Caesar Borgia, the son of a pope who was a murderer, a rapist, and committed incest. This is who you people worship in church. That image is the image of this guy Esau here. And Esau is going to be judged ultimately. Righteousness is going to be bestowed upon this earth. And I can't wait. The time gets closer and closer and closer, man. The time gets closer and closer and closer and closer. You can feel it. You can feel Esau's judgment coming, and he knows it. Esau knows his judgment is coming, and that's why they're freaking out. I was on the Apostles page the other day, and he played a quick video excerpt from one of the Rothschilds. And you know what the Rothschild, I forgot his name. He's one of the Rothschild sons. But he said specifically he wishes that the internet had not have been invented for a handful of reasons. And the reason why he didn't want the internet invented is because of people like me, people like the apostles, people like the elders at GMS, Great Millstone, who are bringing out this truth. Because ultimately the Rothschilds and the DuPonts and these other wealthy families, right, they know that they come from the house of Esau. Because they were told by their grandparents when they were young, yes, you are an Edomite. Yes, you do come from Esau. Yes, you are an Amalekite. You know? So they know these things, man. These people are not stupid. It's you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that don't know that y'all are Israelites. So y'all need to wake the fuck up. That's what y'all need to do. Because you don't want to be found to be 2/3, man. And die in this destruction. Because you 2/3 niggas and you Edomites are going to face the same death. Now now in the kingdom, the 2/3 are going to be, you know, they're going to be manifested through the loins of the elect. You know, so they're not going to face the same punishment as Esau, but you will face the same death through those nuclear missiles. You know what I mean? So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash, and death to this place, Babylon, and Shalom to the hopeful elect all across the world. Thank you so much for being alongside me. And for keeping this truth up, man. We're definitely almost out of here. It's just a little bit longer. All right, shalom to the hopeful elect.